here at Darcy Lever is owned by Bolton Council. Gravel was extracted from this area to build the nearby St Peter's Way, linking Bolton to the nation's motorway network. The site remained derelict, although as soon as the gravel extraction was complete, wildlife gradually returned to the site. Whilst the council has ensured the safety of the area, they had been unable to develop it, as they had neither the money nor the manpower. The Ranger Service at Moses Gate Country Park had been keeping an eye on the site, and were delighted when volunteers from Redley Conservation Trust approached them asking them if there was any work they could help them with. The old gravel pit site immediately came to mind, and together they developed the Action in the Gravel Pits project, which over the past 2 years has transformed the area. Redley Conservation Trust made a successful grant application to the Heritage Lottery Fund and received £48,600 towards the project. The volunteers have managed this project and made this film as a lasting record of their achievements. Local volunteers who were interested in the proposals for the site came together to set up the Gravel Pits Action Group, known as GPAG. These volunteers have carried out practical work in partnership with the Ranger Service and Redley Conservation Trust to upgrade the site. GPAG will help to maintain the gravel pit site for years to come. Redley Conservation Trust and GPAG volunteers have worked closely together throughout the project. Perhaps, David, you could tell us what you hope to achieve at the outset.
We had 3 aims for the Action in the Gravel Pits project. We wanted to manage the site for the benefit of wildlife. We wanted to improve access around the site to enable people to visit it more easily. And there was quite a large environmental education part of the project where we wanted to involve community groups and schools in the site and in the project so they could find out a bit more about the wildlife that's found here and the kind of plants that are found here.
Three schools were involved in the project and attended the launch in April 2005 in the presence of the then Mayor of Bolton, Councillor Frank White, with Andy Bailey acting as Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you for coming to the gravel pits this morning. I'm glad to see so many of you here, and I'm glad that most of you got here without too many problems. Apologies for those who took a bit of a detour. But sort of like, we're here at the start of a really exciting project, and I know I've been into the schools and sort of talked a bit about the project and about what Action in the Gravel Pits is, but it is a really good project, and we're hoping to do lots and lots here. But one of the big things is actually just getting in the site and actually experiencing the site. So that's why we've invited you down here. And what I wanted to do was show you some of the creatures that we've found in the park. And we've got some real fantastic creatures of the park here. Monsters of the deep, we've called them. So let me introduce to you, first of all, the newts. So can we have the big newt? Can you bring your newt in and show us your newt? Come on, wave them around a bit. That's it. Whoa! And this is Norman. He's been made by Mytham Road, and he's all about, if you walk around in a bit of a circle, that'll be good. Yeah, do a bit of a circle, like you're on a catwalk. Brilliant. Excellent. And then when you come round, if you just come round to here, that'll be good. Norman is a newt. He's a great crested newt in our world. And we've got plenty of newts on the park, and it's our hope that maybe, with all the work that we want to do on the park, that we could really improve it and maybe get great crested newts colonising the whole area. And great crested newts are really rare and they're protected, so that'd be fantastic if we could get great crested newts all over the park. Let me introduce to you some of our other creatures here, some of the frogs. Can we have the frogs coming in? Great! Inverness road frogs here.
Well done, the
Ribbit, 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 ribbit. That's it, you're going to do a little twirl. Do a twirl for us, frogs. Excellent. And can you frogs now come and stand over here near the banner as well? That's brilliant. Whoa! Now frogs are quite common everywhere, but they're really important nevertheless. And because the gravel pits has got 13 ponds on it and loads of wet and boggy sort of areas, it's absolutely fantastic for frogs. So it's brilliant that we've got frogs represented here. And finally, let's have the dragonfly come in.
Let's get this, yeah.
The dragonfly has been made by St. Stephen's. Unfortunately, he's had a bit of a problem with his wing. I think he's been in one too many fights. Right. And dragonflies are symbolic really of the gravel pits because they need the wet ponds and things in order to breed in. They spend much of their life in the ponds, and the gravel pits are really sort of a great place for dragonflies. In fact, we've actually got sort of locally unique dragonflies like the black dart are sort of actually breeding within the gravel pits, so it's a really important site. So all this wildlife here you see is symbolic of how important the gravel pits is.
A cross-section of community representatives were also invited to an event where the aims of the project were unveiled.
People are as important to conservation as plants and animals that we're all interested in.
The summer of 2005 provided an ideal opportunity for GPAG volunteers to explain about the work taking place at the gravel pits and to enlist community support. The Victorian Street Fair held in Bolton town centre is very much a community event, and the variety of stalls added to the attractiveness of the day. The GPAG volunteers really seem to enter into the spirit of the occasion. GPAG also attended the Moses Gate Country Fair, where again they were successful in gaining community support. As the gravel pits were just across the way, it was possible to organise visits to see the wildlife in the ponds. This little girl was particularly fascinated by the dragonflies and their larvae.
And then they'll come out of the water and their wings will open up and then they'll fly off. It's like a little tiny butterfly thing.
Local photographer Paul Haywood also took some remarkable shots of this black darter. Over the course of the project, the Gravel Pits Action Group has carried out a vast amount of practical conservation work on the site. The volunteers started by clearing rubbish, which had been dumped over many years. It was more than a little disappointing that there was so much, given that there's a local authority refuse tip so close by. by the end of the day, a large trailer provided by the council at the edge of the site had been completely filled. Volunteers have also conducted a series of wildlife surveys on the site, focusing in particular on dragonflies, newts and amphibians. In addition, a full invertebrate survey of all the ponds was carried out. This work has helped build up a better picture of the site's ecology and has influenced some of the subsequent management decisions. Some tree pruning was also undertaken, but tree felling was left until later in the year, after birds and their young had left their nests. Much of the conservation work carried out appears to be destructive, as it involves the removal of trees and scrub. However, this needs to be done to enable the regeneration of heathland, an important and declining habitat, and to improve the ponds. Trees are important, but they can shade out the ponds and smaller plants that are also important for wildlife. The removal of trees enables a mosaic of habitats to be maintained on the gravel pits, an important characteristic of the site. The work has been carried out according to a carefully considered management plan that was updated prior to the start of the project. Autumn is an ideal time for undertaking some larger tasks on site, and we've been helped by students from university on Make a Difference Day. Volunteers will be clearing willow trees from this area, where a new pond will be excavated, and Ranger Andy Bailey gave volunteers some health and safety advice before work commenced.
I always try and keep my fingers at least sort of another fist away. I know if you're a woodworker or something, you might have saws at home and you might sort of run your thumb along the side of the saw like that. Don't please do that here, because they bounce, these bow saws, if you're not used to them. You go home and you won't be able to try and sit your thumb. So yeah, just not too locked.
On this occasion, the large quantities of timber were disposed of by burning. It wasn't long before the fire was roaring away, fanned by the warm breeze.
We're trying to create new pond areas to aid diversity and to increase the number of water plants, marginals. These trees in question, goat willows, fantastic at taking water out of the ground, and what they're hoping to achieve is by removing the willows and then treating the stumps, it'll provide an area where water can actually gather, and a pond hopefully will be created. There's another pond over there, and hopefully the seeds from that will carry into here and populate.
I'm June Clayton, and my role at the University of Bolton is to encourage staff and students to get involved in volunteering activities in the community. This is the second year that we've organised a Make a Difference Day, and these one-day events not only serve to highlight all the good work that's been done by volunteers every day, but also give students who are perhaps a bit unsure about whether they want to become volunteers a taster day. And I hope that some of the students who've come today will end up becoming regular volunteers for the Gravel Pits Action Group. As you've probably seen on the video, the students have done a tremendous amount of work, cleared trees, built bonfires, lopped trees, learnt the various ways of making trees fall in the right direction, but at the same time have had a jolly good time.
The volunteers were also helped by local MP Brian Idden, who put his back into the task for a couple of hours before departing for another engagement.
Well, we've just taken this tree down, and I've taken a few more trees down with all these superb volunteers here this morning at the gravel pits at Darcy Lever, and I really do thank all the students from Bolton Institute and the other volunteers from the village and elsewhere for coming down and opening up this natural habitat today, which is for dragonflies, butterflies and various species of newts and quite a lot of other wildlife as well. This kind of work is important and it couldn't be done without volunteers, and I do thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for turning out today. Thank goodness it's not raining. Cheers.
It's a great sense of achievement and it came down just at the right place, so I'm really pleased.
I'm an international student. I'm here from Spain and I'm doing my master's in business administration, and I think today's day it's an excellent attempt to clear out this place, and I'm basically here to meet new people, and it's just sounded like an adventure to me, so that's why I'm here.
And this is the final result, after a few weeks' rain and a mechanical excavator on site for a day or two. This large pond was soon colonised by plants and animals, dramatically increasing the wildlife value of the gravel pits. Other new ponds have been carefully managed over a 2-year period, and new ones created in the autumn of 2005 and 2006.
When we thought about improving access around the site, we had to think about who exactly we wanted to encourage to visit the site. And in our case, we wanted to encourage horse riders, pedestrians, people with pushchairs and dog walkers primarily. We wanted to try and discourage off-road bikers and off-road vehicles. So what we've got here is a series of access controls. We've got a gate at the end which is easily accessed by people, pushchairs and people in wheelchairs. We've got a gate in the middle which is easily accessed by the rangers in vehicles to carry out essential management work on the gravel pit site. And we've got a horse stile at the end here, which is something the horses can step through quite easily, and yet it's quite difficult to lift a motorbike over and into the site beyond.
Back in 2004, many of the paths were very muddy and, whilst not hazardous, deterred the casual visitor. Years of casual use meant that some paths were covered in deep mud, while other parts of the site were overgrown and completely inaccessible. Addressing these issues within the budget of the project was one of the greatest challenges faced by Redley Conservation Trust. The Ranger Service has worked hard to involve lots of different groups and activities on the gravel pits, including 3 local schools. An Educhem microscope was purchased as part of the project to help with this. Samples can be taken from a pond and placed under the microscope. The small creatures are then clearly visible to onlookers on a television screen. A series of events have also been held to encourage families and children to visit and become acquainted with the wildlife on the site. Tadpoles were easily located on this visit, and a small newt was also found sheltering from the sun under a stone. During the project, many people who would otherwise not have heard about the site have become familiar with it. Many groups have been involved as volunteers, including guides, employee volunteers from Citibank and Warburton's, and young people from Bolton's youth offending team. Bolton Conservation volunteers have also helped implement some of the pond management and heathland restoration work. During the project, 12 new ponds have been created and 6 received essential management work. Within the space of a year, the ponds created in 2005 have become established, and now blend in well with the rest of the site. Some areas of heathland are starting to regenerate, although this is a long-term process and it will take some years before this is complete and the habitat fully recovered. Woodland edges have been managed to create sheltered but sunny areas, known as scallops, that will benefit insects such as dragonflies. The main routes through the site have been surfaced and are now easy to walk throughout the year. The newly laid paths encourage people to visit the site and enjoy it for themselves. It's probably the part of the project that most visitors will notice and work that most users will appreciate. Gates also restrict access to motorbikes and quad bikes, which disturb the habitat. A highly specified and hard-wearing surface means that horses can use the same paths as walkers. The horse riders have been the most regular users of the new access routes. Trees have also been cut back from the path edges to give greater headroom to riders and a safer riding environment. Elsewhere, in some of the more sensitive parts of the site, access remains limited so that these areas remain relatively undisturbed. The new dipping platform has been sited at the pond most easily reached by those with disability problems. The water level here remains stable throughout the year, ensuring there is always plenty to see. Now the project is complete, Redley Conservation Trust will hand over to the Gravel Pits Action Group, who will continue to work with the Ranger Service to ensure that future management work is carried out. All this work has inspired other people to look more closely at the gravel pits and to look for ways of adding to these achievements. For example, Bolton conservation volunteers are hoping to create 4 new ponds on land close to the gravel pits, and these will soon be colonised by plants and animals from the site. And we hope to continue with the Children's Froggy Parade that we're sure will continue to be a popular event for years to come.